Well, as y'all all know, we've got Suni Warren here today with us, and we are so excited to have her. She's an acclaimed watercolorist that just her vibrant paintings that she's inspired from, by nature, and it's just amazing what she does with the paintbrush. So she's been painting full time since the late 90s. She's earned lots of awards and acclaims. She's a member, a signature member of the National Watercolor Society. She's American Watercolor Society, the Southern Watercolor Society. She's just, yeah. I mean, what can I say about it? She has several books. Her paintings have been published in magazines and in books and are in numerous collections. So we're very excited to have her here. And so with that, everybody got that? So
yeah, I think it's everybody kind of muted. Everybody wants to mute it. More dots. Let's see. Oh, anyway, because if everybody muted, then I'll be okay. Okay, so it's kind of this is the one. This is the one that you wanted to spotlight it, because this is the one that I'm talking, so it's gonna keep coming out. Okay, let's start. So, oh, sorry. So you guys are more like a whole media, not just watercolor. So you do everything. Okay, so here I am going to show you watercolor, and I think there's kind of not that many people paint watercolor. Watercolor is just kind of fun. Not, I paint oil. Other one is I just kind of don't do it. But it's a lot easier to paint watercolor than oil, because it's kind of, when I paint oil, it's kind of, I have a different setup. Oil painting it in other station, and I do it here. It's watercolor, and I think watercolor. It's just I paint more because I don't have to prepare, because everything is here. I just cannot spray water, just wet the paint, and I am ready to go. But oil painting is just pain in the butt, because I have to prepare and set it up and scorch it out and all those little things. And so anyways, I'm just kind of advertising watercolors. You can start watercolor. It's actually kind of easier to do it. So I wanted to show. I am prepared. I have written 2 watercolor books. This is a vibrant flower in watercolor. It's kind of painting vibrant flowers in watercolor. It's very similar, so I get confused. This one, painting vibrant watercolors. And so it's kind of, I only say it's kind of flower and cherries. Cherry is the second book, and flower is my first book. So this one is the instructional book, so it's kind of both of them kind of give you how I paint watercolor. And I wrote this first book probably maybe 15 years ago, maybe more. And this one is kind of after, kind of 3-4 years later. But what I can tell you is, I paint about 20 years ago. I started kind of painting watercolor in 20 years ago. And whatever that I painted before 20 years ago, and right now I do exactly same thing. I am like a chicken. So I'm reusing this one. So how I put my watercolor paper is, I have a board. You see this is plywood, and I have watercolor paper, and I will just kind of stick this one into my board. So I don't have to constantly, when I move it, I'm not going to touch my paper. I am going to move my board. So what I'm doing is, I am actually double tape my masking tape. You see this one, Scotch 3M. I buy this one from the Home Depot or maybe Lowe's at the painting section. And I will just kind of make this one. So I'm making essentially, so if you start, if you decide kind of oil painter wants to paint watercolor, this one is a lot. Can you see? I'm making this tube. Can you see? It's a tube. So you don't want it to make double. This one is 1/3 goes in, 1/3 goes on top, and press it down. So make a tube. Then I am pressing it down to make it double tape. And I think there is a kind of foam tape. It has a double on it, but the foam tape is a lot more expensive. And not only that, that is more, it's too stickier. So after you put it on, it's kind of, you have a hard time taking it off. So I do this. And after that, sorry, I will put this one on my board. Like this. So I draw this one, and it's a kind of, I draw this one to show you, I think it's about masking. And I think somebody in the beginning was asking about how to thin the masking liquid, kind of masking, what do you call it? Kind of masking or frisket. And I have a masking, and there's so many masking out there, but I like this Winsor & Newton. And usually what I do is, after I buy it, I will always use this saran wrap to put it on, so it's not going to be thickened. What happened is you didn't use it much, but if you open this one often and you just leave this one open, air gets in here, and this one is going to be start to thicken. So sometimes you didn't even use it often, and it's almost full. And if you don't use the saran wrap, eventually a year later, 2 years later, it's going to be all thickened. But if you use the saran wrap, it will stay liquidy. Okay. And I think somebody was kind of saying, if you can thin this one, and you never want to thin this one with water or anything, because once you thin it, it is not as sticky. And then I think it's that, I don't know how that what's going to happen, because maybe it's not going to be too, I don't even know you can actually thicken. So so these days what I have, I just wanted to show you sometime what I use, how I used to make this one work. And these days I use this one a lot. It's what they call a fine line. I buy this fine line container separately like this. And I actually fill this one just very little on my container. And I use this one after I clean it. Sometimes when I start using it, it eventually just kind of thickens, it's make kind of hardened around. Then I will just kind of clean it out, and it's at some point I will restart again. And this one is actually very easy because the line comes out very thin. And I don't have to do anything. I just kind of apply this one like where I want it. So I can actually go this one. If I wanted to go this one, I would just come. It's kind of hard to see, colors are similar, but it's this very thin line comes out. So I just have to guide my needle to thin it. It's kind of go draw it. And actually I like this one because I don't even have to press it. It'll just kind of flow out. If you press it, sometimes it just comes out too much. So, but sometimes when it's kind of edges, this edges are a little bit thickened, so you have to press out to start it. But usually I don't have to press it, and just coming out. So I like to use this one these days, and olden days, and even sometime now. Sometime when this frisket start to coming out, sometimes it's hard to control if I wanted to control smaller area. So what I do is, I will use this brush. This one is plastic. Actually, kind of this is the brush of a regular, maybe oil brush. I call this one oil brush because this one is a synthetic brush, and I think I bought it to paint the oil actually. And oil brush, I don't like short hander. I like longer hander. But watercolor, I like shorter hander because I paint kind of flat. And so if I have a longer hander, I have to use my, you just kind of, the maneuvering is kind of much harder, but short hander. But I think when I paint oil, Actually, I need that distance because I put it on my easel. So shorter handle, that means I have to get closer to my easel, and I usually stay back. So shorter handle doesn't work. So if I have shorter handle, and sometimes if I want to make longer, I kind of put my chopstick in it. Kind of sometimes I don't have it here, but usually I kind of put this kind of little chopstick. I just kind of wrap around, and I use a kind of longer handle. I don't know. That's kind of my habit. That's what I do. So when I have, but this one, I like this one. If you look at it, can you see this slanted? This is round. Can you see this one is kind of slanted like this? So when I have this one, I can make thin line with this. There's a, I think there's a lot of watercolor kind of other color you paint, but when you have a, oh, this one, I don't have it. Sometimes if I want to have a strong line, short line, this one doesn't work as much as I want it to be because this one just flows up. So kind of longer line like this. And its line doesn't have to be short and sharp. I will just use this. It's much easier and faster. But when I need a shorter line, especially when I'm painting crystal, kind of short reflection thing, this one, it just flows out. So it's kind of constantly moving. I don't like them. That's when I use this brush. I use this brush and I can actually control my line short very easily. You see it? So it takes a little longer because I have constantly dipping, but this one is sometimes necessary because then I can get a much clear, sharper line instead of to be kind of all over the place. So this is what I use. And this one, I don't have to actually explain much except using this one. And this one is kind of start to hardening. I just kind of wipe it off and restart again. So that's what I use. And this one is actually, if you look at it, I usually pour it out to little container, like a water bottle container. And this is what I use. And I put this one sticking into my plate. So kind of when I'm using this one for maybe like a 15-minute, 10-minute, and it's kind of, this one is shallow one. This one is kind of already start to hardening in the plate, little kind of a container. So sometimes if I use this one on top like this, I can use this one. And this one start to hardening it. And some point, if I'm not careful, it flips over. Then I have a block, lots of them, it kind of flips over into my painting. But when I do this one, it prevents this one to be flipping over to my painting. So that's what I use, okay? So this is what I use. But usually this day, especially when I have to do a workshop and I have to prepare this one quickly or something, and this is my go-getter these days. I used to didn't like it, but this one I like because some of the brisket, I don't like pressing it. It's kind of, if I have to press it, I cannot control it because I don't have enough strength to control it. But this one just flow out. So I can just kind of use this one without any efforts in it. But there's going to be a lot of time people have a problem with this brisket, this container, because lots of time this needle blocks it off. It kind of hardens the inside of this, come on, because I wanted to close it, because if I don't close it, yeah. So can you see this? So I'm going to show you example. And so what I heard is when you are storing this one, don't ever store this one straight up. You wanted to store this one upside down. Then the needle will not clog up. Can you see? Because it is always that wet or that, brisket is going to be filled up. So sometimes if I have a like this, I just kind of put it like this. So usually I just kind of keep this one upside down. So that'll be okay. And even if you do that, but sometimes it clogs up. And lots of time this one clogs up. Inside of this bottle, it's not a big problem cleaning out. Can you see? You just put something. I will show you. What I put is this glue gun. Can you see this one? I think so everybody has in their kind of under the sink or something. This one is glue gun, is like if you, what do you, it's kind of, I can buy this one at the Walmart or even Home Depot and Lowe's. And what it does is kind of sticky thing on the label. So sometimes when I buy kind of dishes or glass, when I take the that sticky price tag off, there's a kind of sticky thing kind of stay there. Nothing can move that thing. Even the arm cannot move. I have to scrub it off. Sometimes it doesn't move. This glue gun will remove the sticky thing. Maybe they are using this masking fluid to stick there. I don't know. So usually this one you can disassemble. Can you see? You can take this one off, and you can actually take this needle. You can get it actually needle out. I can put this one here. You see? You can take the needle out. All those things can come out like this. And any other one, you are not going to have a problem cleaning it because it's open in larger space. But this needle is hard to clean because usually it comes with this needle kind of stay inside, but still it clogs up. And if you use needle to clean out this one kind of back and forth, it seems like open. When you pull this needle out, what happens inside with this this masking is like rubbery. So when I put the needle in it, can you see it just goes in? So it seems like open. So when I pull this one out, rubbery thing, it closes up again. Open, close up. So you cannot clean this one with anything else. It's a lot of people, I do that too. A lot of people give up on this one because we don't want to buy this one all the time. But I found the solution. This glue gun. So what I do is after this one clean out the needle, I just put 2 or 3 drops, maybe just 1 drop in this one. It's kind of, and I will just kind of keep this one stay up for maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And when I use this needle to clean, everything is melts out. So you can clean this one completely like a new. So after that is dry out, I clean it in a sink and dry out, and I will just kind of put it together and I will start using again. So when I go to watercolor kind of group, they say they save a lot of money. All right. So I do this one. So you don't have to keep buying this one. So you can use this. All right. So, oh, good. So I will keep this one here. And this is the masking. And I think somebody was asking about kind of diluting this masking. Never ever dilute your masking. And you wanted to have your masking. So when you're applying your masking, because you don't, I'm going to give you an example. You don't want to apply your masking so thin. Lots of time, if you if I just, even you use first day today, when you don't use your masking, like I can give you an example clearly. When you go to parking lot, there's a there's a speed bumps, right? And there's a, when you park in, there's a painted line. Can you see the white painted line? So you can park kind of directed to. So when you are when you're applying your Frisket, you don't want it to apply like your painted line. You don't want to apply so thin. You want to apply your Frisket like a speed bumps. So when after it dry, when I touch it, I don't want it to be like too smooth. That's like painted line. So when I touch it, it has a little bumps going on. That's how you want to apply your Frisket. Then lots of time people say, can I use, after Frisket and painting, sometimes if I want to use this one dry quickly, I use a hair dryer or, something. And I think it's hair, if you use a speed bump, like a Frisket using like a speed bump, you don't have to worry about using a hair dryer or wetting it or something, because you can always take off. Kind of think about it. I think it's just I have a logical thinking, because a watercolor paper is usually even. Can you see? Just crunched up all the pulp, and they just press down this one like this. And then because we are wetting this paper all the time with pigment with the water, when it's wet, it loosens up. Can you see? So if you have a very thin Frisket, some of the Frisket is gonna touch it and it stick into the, just loosen up, breaking off. And this one dries out, it tightens up. So some of the frisket actually embedded into the paper. That's why it doesn't come out. But when you have a frisket applying like a speed bump, when it's loose, still stays on. When it's tight, still stays on. Can you see? Like this. That's why it doesn't matter how you do it. It's your frisket is going to be always off. And it's I do sometimes frisket kind of living on like this for sometime a year because I am so excited painting. And some point I lost the interest because it just doesn't give me any kind of a bounce back and kind of feeling. So I just put it aside, and sometimes it takes about a year to go back to the painting, and I can always take the frisket off. So, okay. So this one I prepared because I wanted to show you how to apply frisket for it. And I'm not sure how many people you paint watercolor, because watercolor is, I think somebody say, just like the opposite side of the oil painting. It's kind of a true. It's kind of true, but it's even oil painting. You don't have to just kind of paint always dark first and the light. You can while you're going back, you can always go back your dark, and you can always go back your light too. It's not like just kind of one thing that you have to do and stick with it. It's watercolor is exactly same thing. It's generally you save your white. That's the key. But later, if you don't, you lost your white, that's why I'm using frisket to save highlight. Light is light. So when I do this one, so this way I don't have to save all those little knick-knack light, because this frisket is going to be saved this light for me. So I can be free to paint whatever I want to. And after that, I can take off. And it doesn't mean that frisket, after take the frisket off, it's going to be all good, because this frisket white is going to be offer actually after take off your frisket, because then all the painting is undercoat is done, and when the frisket is off, this white is going to be shouting out like too crazy. So after that, when I finalizing it, I have to tame. Yes, I have this light. It doesn't mean that's going to be all my light. I am going to get rid of some of them. I'm going to have some color on it, lighter color on it, and just I'm going to have just a little bit of a highlight, not all of them, but having this frisket line. Okay, if I wanted to make this one dark value, is it going to be darker red or darker blue or darker green or something? But still, I want it to have a very flickering lights of a very light highlight. But I don't want to have white highlight because it's going to be darker area. So I wanted to have maybe lighter version of a kind of blue highlight. So if I wanted to do that, then I can actually frisket line. I just kind of scrubbing this one very gently scrub and inviting the color, side color, just kind of gently in it. Then I'm going to have a highlight of the blue and darker, kind of deeper value of the blue, that kind of a way. So that's how I just kind of use this frisket. So frisket is not going to make painting perfect, but when I use this one, I can speed up my painting whole a lot, and I don't have to worry about my painting. It's kind of how it goes. And I think it's that there's going to be always, I think it's even oil too, that there's going to be different styles of the painting. Some people paint faster, and it's kind of, I think I saw today, I think Michelle paints probably like how I paint watercolor. But I think there's somebody who did kind of loose landscape. That's more like a plainer painting. I don't know, it's kind of did it at home, but that's much looser, and it's kind of impasto kind of a feeling. So it's kind of different way of painting it, but I paint this one layers of color. I don't paint this one directly. So I just kind of layer. I saved my highlight, and I will paint the lighter version, and next another lighter version, the kind of darker version. So almost like painting negative with painting constantly. And it doesn't mean always negative. At some point, I will just kind of paint this and that, but that's what it is. So I think I'm just gonna stop for the frisket here. And I am going to show you a different way because we have an hour and a half. It's not like long hour to show everything finished painting. So after this, I was just gonna put this one away because this is kind of very basic. And I have, this one was kind of part of my kind of painting. So I already have, this is kind of undercoat. I'm start going this one detailing out, and this one I kind of detailed out my glass already. And if you look at this one, so I thought I wanted to show you how to make this Louisiana capital city. What's the Louisiana capital city? I forgot Louisiana.
Is it Baton Rouge?
Yes, Baton Rouge. Okay, thank you. Battenberger. This one is because I cannot remember this style of this what do you call? Okay, I'm gonna push this one a little bit. Style of the this lace, and somebody told me this is Battenberg.
Battenberg lace.
Yeah. Yes, Battenberg. So it's I now. So Louisiana, you say Baton Rouge, right? So I say, okay, Louisiana city is like Baton Rouge, is kind of Baton, and Berg, hamburger. Can you see? So I said Battenberg. And I said, I forgot about that Louisiana thing. That's why. So here, I apply so many different layers of kind of dark to it. You see, I am going to actually, I haven't finished this one. So if you look at it, I layer, you see this one is different, kind of different layer. So this one, I don't have any white. This one has actually kind of bluish tone to it, but this is bluish tone, but I think it says, I apply other area. This blue looks like highlight, just like a white. So this one is here. So this Battenberg, I have to develop this Battenberg. So I am going to have this dark. So if you have some kind of a question, you can actually put it in a chat, and maybe Michelle can actually sometime read, and you can actually relate it to me. Then while I'm painting, I can actually answer it to you, okay?
You got it. I've been sort of watching it, so I'll keep watching, keeping an eye on for you.
Okay. So I am going to have, because the layers, so this one is almost like, I want to go actually one more layers of this kind of darkness to it. Then what happened is, actually then I can push this one back much more. So I have this red undercoat. It's underneath, I have a yellow, and I have allergen crimson, I have a blue, and it's like, so when I'm doing this blue, I did this one same thing. So I constantly layers of color, or the kind of, in the beginning, maybe yellow, maybe after that, I might have some kind of a, usually I use 3 color layer first, because of yellow and red and blue. That's the 3 primary colors. So generally, that's the color that I usually use. That's all there is anyway. So I am going to, actually, I have some color on it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go this one darker one more time. And I will show you detailing out this one while it's drying out. Then after that, what I'm going to do is, I am going to show you how to detail this one out, okay? So maybe I can finish that painting. So if I wanted to have something color a little bit more than what it is, yeah. I don't have regular palette. I have plate. So, I think I'm the only one who uses this, because I am more comfortable with yellow palette, red palette, blue palette, and I have a little bit green in it, and I have a black palette. So I made this black palette because this black is consist with blue and red and yellow. Yellow is kind of sepia. So permanent allergen crimson, indigo, and sepia, this is the color usually in. if I have a Viridian or blue or green in it, it doesn't matter because I only use transparent. Can you see? It's like lighter color. If I yellow or even I will not blue, I use the indigo. But if I don't have indigo, I might use Prussian blue. But I will not use a cobalt blue or something lighter blue. I will not use it because it doesn't make dark like how I want it to be. And red is the same way. I will use alizarin crimson or even rose madder. I think some company rose madder is darker, some companies a little lighter. I might use the rose madder if I don't have that. But if I will not use cadmium red or that's kind of orange, has yellow in it, it makes mud. If I use, I was going to show you about the watercolor. If you understand this concept of the, I think it's a lot of time people asking me about how do you know, it's kind of even oil painting has an opaque to it, and some of them is translucent too. I think it's a kind of alizarin crimson is still transparent in oil painting too. And yellow is definitely I think it's a oil painting or watercolor pigments are kind of very similar if you think about it. So yellow family and lighter colors are usually opaque to it. So you can cover underneath color very easily. But if you go to like a alizarin crimson or permanent rose or something Prussian blue or something, it is more that they are more transparent. So then you can actually layers actually better. But so when I look at this one, I have a little bit of yellowish. I think I have a yellow in it. I want to paint it. So this is clear. That's what we call translucent, right? So when you have this translucent, it's easily you can layer and you can see what's underneath. It's kind of it's very easily you can see underneath the color. Can you see? Yeah. But when we have a transparent color, it's going to be covered a little bit, but still you can see through it. Can you see? It's like a clear. So I can put this one. I have a permanent rose. Okay. You see this pink? You can actually kind of see through something underneath, right? And I will use this one is probably not. I'm gonna go with, I have some yellow in it. You know, some company actually, this one is actually pretty good. Okay. I will go definitely. Transparent yellow medium. Oh, let's check. Let's check. This one is Stephen Cooler, what they call transparent yellow medium. Let's see if this one is actually transparent, okay? Because I haven't checked. Because these days, because everybody wants transparent, so I think they make a transparent something. Whoa. Okay. Okay, I spilled my water. Okay. Let's check transparent yellow. This one is kind of still transparent, so if this one can make transparent. So this one, it says transparent yellow medium. Nice color, I like this. And you see, this is not transparent. You cannot see through it. Can you see it? So this kind of, even they say transparent yellow, it's kind of yellow is always like an opaqueness to it. And I like yellow being opaqueness to it because it's kind of, it covers the white without affecting too much of a value. because the kind of yellow is right next to the white. This one, can you see, can you understand now? But I can see this one is, so I don't believe that that's a transparent, yellow medium is transparent, but yellow is usually opaqueness to it. So lots of time people say, does that mean that transparent is better than opaque? It's not. There's going to be always, so you always, sometimes I need the opaqueness to kind of calm everything down. And sometimes I like transparent so I can see what's the underneath color coming through it. And I think it's not that kind of hard to understand that part, because of this. After a little while, you can actually even see in a palette if that's going to be, when you start mixing color, you will notice which one is transparent and which one is not. There's only one thing you have to do is just keep painting, then you see how the things are going to work. I'm just going to use one of those, this color, mix this my black. Because this black is sepia and indigo and alizarin crimson. So it kind of, you're coming out very like a blackish tone. Can you see? But it looks black, but when you add water, I think so what's kind of great about watercolor is if you wanted to change your value, in oil, you have to mix in something lighter color to change value, because usually you have to cover it up or something. So you have to mix the color to make the value, but watercolor, you just need to add water. Then you don't have to worry about changing color. Colors stay exactly same, but your value changes dramatically, like how you want it to be. Okay, this one is kind of too browny. I want to have a little bluish. And I know this is the indigo. Can you see this one is kind of indigo right here? So I have some color already there. I didn't kind of mix into it. So I'm going to make this one a little bit more, because I don't want it to make the whole thing with this color. So I'm making this one in a separate kind of little plate, foam plate. Then after I use, I will just kind of toast this one out. I think this is okay. So I can just kind of, it looks black, but if you look, if I just kind of always going to check on the side, and I can see exact color, what's going to be like this. And this one is going to be a little maybe too dark. I'm going to add some water. You see, if I like the color, if I wanted to thin this one, if I wanted to thicker, I have to add more color. But if I wanted to make this one a little lighter, I just have to add water. Okay. I'm going to get some larger brush. Okay. Okay, I wanted to darken this one better. Because this is the shaded area. So I'm just making it this one darker. And there's a little bit of a highlight it shows, because this one is Battenberg. That one, kind of darker one, I will add dark, kind of that hole in it. But I will scrub a little bit out to make little bumps. You see, I don't even mind. This one goes, because this is going to be darker, so I don't want to go this one too carefully. And I say, if I just kind of overlapping all the time, just get darker. So sometimes easier to just kind of paint all the way out. Okay. Actually, this one has dark in it, sharper. I can do this one later, but since I have a color, I'm just kind of doing it. And what I'm going to do is I have to clean my brush. I have a different brush actually. I'll clean this one. And clean brush, and I have to take my water off. This is, I usually have this cloth, and I will blend this one out. Just touching the edges. And here, so I have my cloth is going to be softly just kind of force it over instead of a hard edges. Okay, I think this one is a little darker, so it's better. I like that much better. And after that, so this one I'm gonna just move out. So what I do is I wanted to take some pigment off because I used a larger brush. It just made it too much. Detail out this one. And I'm going to do this one. I wanted to show how to make this detail this one out until this one dries out. So you know, it's kind of this way. I can actually upside down, and I will make my photo upside down, so I can actually kind of start painting this one. Center, I made it this one darker. I need a little bit of a blue. So this painting, I've been painting for probably more than a year because I've been kind of carrying this one around for my demonstration, kind of traveling 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So maybe eventually I know that I'm going to finish it. So now kind of I'm doing this little by little by little. Can you see? So I am going to, my blue is coming in. Little bit of a kind of greenish blue. And this is watercolor. Can you see? I have this purple, little bit of Prussian blue, and this one is a hooker's green, and I have some little bit of red in it. But I just kind of rinse off my top of the plate before I started. So now I just kind of add water, and I have a very nice center blue in it. This one is a lighter value that I made it add water to it. Then I will go this one very little bit of a blue to center to just kind of deepens it. And I do this one, and see if I want to make a little bit lighter. If I wanted to keep it as is. If I wanted to darken, I can darken. It's like usually we are just keep darkening it. But if I make this one too dark and I want to make this, I have to. If some of the area turns out to be too dark, and if I have to do something about it, I have to make decision. Do I want to make that one kind of other area darker to go together, or do I want to scrub that one off to make it easier for me? Can you see? I can make that decision one way or the other, and then I will do it. If I don't do it anything, it's not going to be look good anyway. So I'm just kind of making this one a little bit darker, center of the flower. And watercolor is usually, it looks darker when it's wet, but when it dries, little lighter. So usually I will kind of, that's why what I'm doing right now is that I never ever think I'm finishing my painting because it's always changes. Can you see? I think it's that it's done, but it dries out lighter. That means I have to keep going back one more time to finish off. So whatever that I do, I will see how it goes. I think it's actually, I shall see how it goes. If it's perfect, I like it, I will keep it. If I don't like it, I will do more something. So I go this one little by little, so layers of and layers of a kind of color. And I like the layers of color because the color becomes very kind of mixing color. I think it's I explain it to this one in my, I think you can see it better. think first book, I said it because if your layers, the color became a little more deeper and kind of more interesting. Okay. This one right here, this is my first book. Can you see this one? I actually even draw this color that I use. This one, I use a hooker screen. Can you see? It's clean and sharper, exactly like a green I did. But this one, I use yellow undercoat and blue on top. Can you see? So this one, I see more kind of different layers, kind of green, but it's not kind of green. But I see as a green, it's kind of yellowish, kind of showing a little more. So that's the it's kind of interesting parts of the layer. This one is clean and sharp, but it's like, that's it. But this one, it's kind of a different color, but it's a green too. So that's the part of the layer. So that one is kind of yellow and blue, but it's kind of, there's kind of red comes in. That all those three colors, if you think about it, there's going to be three colors, red and blue and yellow. That's the primary color we have. And when you have the primary colors, there's going to be millions of color comes in. I don't want it to restrict. I think for me, if I just kind of use only one color at a time, kind of mix it and color use it, it's almost like I'm restricting what I have. But when I layer the colors that I didn't intend to do it, and it start coming out. That's why I like the shadow I'm doing. Okay. I was goofing up when I was painting this one. It's just kind of not there. I didn't do much. And I think it's another thing, funny thing about painting this way is some point, actually my painting looks done like now, like a looser little bit. But I can keep going. And for me, this is not done. I have to do more. You know, everybody's different, but that's me. So. It's a very little bit of a different color, but it's I'm adding this one, it's kind of a little bluish greenish. And on top of this red and yellow. So some of the area has a different color. And I think this here, you know, I just kind of goofed off big time, but it doesn't matter. This one, I want to have a little bit more red. I think I have to have a little more red. And I will have my red palette, and I'm going to use probably permanent rose. So this one is cadmium red. I think so that's a cadmium red, but I think if I mix this one, it's going to become a little bit orangish, but it's not going to be much matter. But this is alizarin crimson, but I'm going to use this permanent rose. You see, because I was kind of hurry up to do this demonstration. So I wasn't following exactly what's going on in my decor. Okay, this is pretty good. So if I do more, I'm going to make better flower and a little more interesting than just kind of simple and pretty. Actually, I like to make it kind of ugly. It's not ugly, but it's like has a little bit more attitude in a way. But kind of being too pretty, I cannot have attitude. But a little bit of a aggressive, kind of a little bit of a stronger color or something. I think how can we make this kind of more attitude in our painting? It has to be color, or maybe you're drawing. I think it's kind of, if this one is like caricature or something, you can make something stronger in portraiture, kind of their expression or something. But painting flower, what are you going to make with this attitude? I think it's kind of, we can only have the attitude is going to be color. So I decide go stronger. You see, I'm adding on top of the star color, this is red. And you see, so you can, because of this one being transparent, you can see what's underneath. You can see through it, but I'm just making a little more redder.
Soon,
Yes.
we have a question from Lauren wanting to know why paint to the edge, no border?
Here? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I paint to the all the way edges. So I think it's that this is different from the watercolor to kind of canvas. Canvas, you paint it all the way edge too, right? And when I paint, I paint all the way to edges. But lots of the time, people kind of put the tape around it. The kind of reason being tape around it to hold this paper down. Because when a watercolor paper, can you see this warping here? You don't see this one, but it's kind of, can you see this one? It's kind of buckling a little. Can you see? It's kind of,
Yes.
this one buckles. So watercolor paper, when it's wet, it buckles like this. Especially 140 pounds. So 300 pounds is much thicker, so it doesn't buckle as much, but they are kind of expensive. So we put this one, hold it down. There's a lot of different ways you can actually, what they call stretching it. So when you're stretching it, I think if you look at my book, I used to do kind of paper, it's kind of this one sizing, what they call sizing. So I put this paper in the bathroom for about 15 minutes. So it's kind of paper, it's going to be very loosened. It just kind of doesn't have any kind of the sharp, the stiffness to it. Then I put this one on the board and I staple all the way edges. And when it dries, as tight as you want it to be. And actually that's the best way to paint. But I decided, because I don't like that process, because I like to paint on it, but I don't like to take it off, because that staple is hard to take it off. And one time, actually, I just kind of, my had to kind of plier just went inside because I tried to push this one so hard. And that's the part I really don't like. And actually, when you do it, you lose almost like inch of the paper. And when we lose inch of the paper, and then I think one thing I don't like is, because when I cut this paper, I have this is what they call deckled edges. If you look at this one edges, can you see it's not straight? Can you see? And if you look at this one, so up top, this is 140 pounds doesn't have this side deckled edging. But what I do is I don't use the sharper knife or scissor. I just kind of loosens up with the perp, and I just kind of tear apart. That way I have a little bit of not the sharp edges. So when I frame this one, I almost like using shadow box. And you see, kind of think about your shadow box. So I actually float my painting inside of that frame. So you can see all the way edges. I don't know, I usually kind of not favor of, I don't kind of crazy about using mat board around it. And I think it lots of time. What interesting what I have is kind of watercolor, because when I paint, this is my canvas, this is my space, this is what I paint. So I try to figure it out, composition, everything to fear this one whole thing. I am not going to paint only, but I think it's interesting, watercolor people usually have a mindset. They just kind of paint any way they want to, right? And after that, oh, I don't like this painting, but I like this part. So they think they're going to chop this one off, and I'm going to only save this. Can you see it? So our mindset is already kind of backed off. Instead of trying to make the whole thing work, we have, oh, if it doesn't work, I'm going to chop it off. I don't like the mindset, and I don't do that. If you paint oil or acrylic on canvas, you have maybe like a 26 by 30 or 36, 24 by 36. You are not going to have your mindset, oh, I'm painting, I don't like this. Oh, I'm going to restrict this corner to 8 by 10. We don't do that. Kind of all painting people don't do that. The watercolor people actually have that kind of mindset. When I go to workshop, I usually kind of try to change their mindset to use this one as your whole picture plane. Don't ever think you just paint only this area and you are going to only kind of mat it off. I think that's my idea. So I always paint all the way edges. And another thing is I'm a cheap person and I pay this paper by size. You see? This one is we are wasting this paper. So I don't want to waste any paper. So that's why I do it. No reason. But I like to paint whole thing. If it doesn't work, I will make it work somehow to figure this one out. This one, I will not, oh, I don't like this part. And I'm never ever thinking about cutting this one in half or a quarter, that kind of a thing. Actually, I never do.
Soon we have one other question from Eugenia who would
Oh.
like to know, what do you use to float the art so it will not fall in the frame?
Oh, you mean to put it in a bag? I use tape like crazy. And so another thing that I use is if you go to Cheap Joe's, or I think I use a Cheap Joe, they have a asset free kind of 2 inches framing tape. It's just kind of very, it's almost like a, it's not kind of masking tape, but it has like a little, I have in my print kind of other room, kind of a Scotch tape kind of a feeling to it, but it has it's kind of very sticky. So what I do is I made a double tape. Okay, I can show you this one. So what I do is, even 300 pounds, 140 pounds, I have no problem. But 300 pounds sometimes kind of a little heavier. So what I have kind of different way to do it. But it's like, can you see? I'm making this one double tape, exactly same thing. And I put this one several places, stick them in there, and here edges like this. And after that, you just kind of put them on a mat board. And you see shadow box kind of backside mat board, and you just kind of give you a little bit of space. And so I just kind of put my painting inside. It's kind of a on top of, so you look like you are holding this one back, but it's kind of what you call floating, float. F-R-A-T, float. What the hell, F-R-O-T, float. So that's what I will use, but 300 pounds. When I use this one, sometimes it holds it, but when you travel to some cold place, hot place or something, sometimes it drops. So in order to prevent that one, it's kind of, you are just kind of one place that kind of, that humidity is just kind of steady, usually they're okay. But when you travel to like a Florida, too humid, like Michigan, it's like Wisconsin is too cold or something, it's moving around. And I think it's a traveling, like when UPS says, probably their warehouse is going to be like 100 degrees, and you see it's hot, and sometimes it just kind of just drop. So this one is kind of really loose, not it's drop. So what I do is, it is not acid free, but foam tape. Can you see that foam tape? That is very strong. So I cut that one very thin, kind of small tape, and I will put it in a corner. You see? Then it stays pretty good. But the foam tape, I will not use it all over the place because it's not an acid free. So. So the one good thing about wall painting, you just kind of stick them in these days. I don't even frame it. I just use gallery wrap. You don't even have to frame it. This one too. I missed the whole shadow. The shadow is going to make a kind of force it better, it's kind of stronger. So. So I'm applying blue, but very light. If I use too strong blue, it's going to turn into just kind of blue, because I'm using light, because light means I'm using lots of water. So underneath color show through it. So sometimes I get up middle of the night and I will never go to my oil easier to sit paint. But actually I come to my watercolor paint here where I usually sit. I will come and I will paint. I didn't think about that. And that frame usually play I have that what you call linen tape. Linen tape is even that thing, it doesn't work with the just putting in a little bit, because the linen tape is good for like a poster, like a prints. You buy prints, and the framing shop usually put that prints under that with the linen tape. That is okay. But I think it's just painting, when you're trying to put it together, it doesn't work, because that's too weak to put even painting, especially 300 pounds, it drops. So can you see, it's just this one is going to be just tedious. I'm going to do this one until I like. So if anybody, did you say something?
Soon.
Yes.
Yes, I did. I think I'm my internet's acting up a little bit. We have a couple of questions here. Sue would like to know, if you have an open frame, what do you put on top of your painting?
What does it mean, open
How do you,
frame?
I guess, how do you protect it? Maybe if it's doesn't have glass on top of it?
Oh, usually I put glass on top. But like I see, if you wanted to put like a oil painting, it's not using glass to put it in. That's not advisable, because the oil painting, if your water drops, you can actually wipe it off. Watercolor is water drops, you cannot wipe it off that way. Right now, maybe just but it might change the that spot. But so you have to have a protection. Just if you wanted to frame just watercolor itself, you have to protect it. But there's a I think it's I think they're just what they call Watercolor Live. I think there's a Streamline publishing companies putting on this website these days, workshop, like a oil. And I think so this time we did watercolor and that kind of thing. There was one guy was showing how to spray on top of the paint, varnish it. The watercolor, so you varnish it. Then you put this paper onto the I think he used to do, plywood, but his plywood is not acid free. So it's the acid is going to be travel come through it, so you cannot use it. So I think he's using more kind of some kind of metal, or maybe some kind of, I think it's metal he's kind of applying to it. That process was just horrendous. And I'm like, I think I can just paint, just kind of, I can deal with this. So there's the way you can do it. I think there's you can varnish it. I think there's a watercolor varnish or something. I think so you can use the fixative. I think so for the pastel. But when you use pastel, I think you use the fixative, you have to use your glass, right? But I'm not sure there's a watercolor varnish or not, but I think there's I think it's watercolor varnish. So some people actually paint on canvas, watercolor canvas. I think that's what they say. And they use the varnish, and you just kind of put them in without glass. So I don't know, you call it that wood painting, watercolor painting, or, but that's how you use it.
And then Andrea would like to know if you ever wax your watercolors.
Huh?
Andrea would like to know if you ever wax your watercolors.
On top of this one, whole thing?
I
think there's a technique, the wax. Wax is the kind of technique you're using wax. The wax is exactly same way as like using Frisket. Think about the Frisket. Can you see? When you apply wax, you are saving that area. Watercolor pigment is not going there. And later you just take off the wax. So, that's the technique. But I never use wax. I am more like hands-on from kind of, Frisket is the only one I use, but hands-on from beginning to end. I use brush and watercolor, and that's it.
Yes, they're talking about Dorland's wax, a medium over all of it to protect it, and you buff it off.
Oh, here.
Maybe when it's all finished.
Oh, after finishes.
Yeah.
I never use a wax, but isn't it because I don't know what kind of a wax. It's like there's some kind of a I think. I hope. I wanted to talk about this one. There's a paper, what they call Yupo. It's a kind of the watercolor paper, supposedly Yupo, but the watercolor paper is almost like plastic paper, very thin sheet of plastic paper. So watercolor, when you put the watercolor, it just repair, just kind of doesn't move. So you have to kind of make it jiggly. This kind of water is actually, when you're painting, that different kind of a texture start coming in. So it's not, if you wanted to paint realistic painting, it's not going to work. But if you want to have some playful, just kind of loose painting, you can't help it because it just comes out that way. Because when you paint on top of the plastic or glass, it just kind of moves. The kind of color just kind of mingles together. It's kind of move. Works this way. So that one, if you even I think it's because of this one, actually, I do this way, it stays. Can you see? It doesn't move. But that paper, Yupo paper, if you just go like this, everything lifted up. Even acrylic lifts up because underneath it has a kind of very kind of soft, it's kind of slick to it. So, and if you just kind of have a little bit of a kind of water on it, it will make a change it dramatically. You cannot take off or something. So sometime I think there's somebody using floor wax. It's not like a candle wax. I think that's what. So some people use a floor wax to settle that thing down. I think somebody was using it, and I'm like, okay, because but I never used it. But the Yupo paper, you got to use some kind of floor wax to stick to it, because the paint is going to keep moving. It's whatever that you do. So floor wax will just kind of stick to that paper. I don't know how they stick it, because between it's always going to be, kind of that kind of slick to it. So I don't know, but I heard somebody was using floor wax.
Okay.
So I think probably if you want to use a floor wax, and I think that one is kind of where you have to be careful, because if you use kind of wax, it'll change it. Can you see? Because whatever they stick. But I think it's wax being you spray pretty far, just kind of many times, and it's just kind of hard in that one. It's kind of, you can frame it. So. Floor wax, that's what I heard. So I think that person who was using to frame, so watercolors, so I think that they are trying to frame, look like an oil painting. Actually, he paints like an oil painting, and he frames like oil painting, but it's that process was like, he applied the back side. Front side, you cannot do that because it changes, but the front side, you wax it, kind of you spray wax this one. And because of this one, you wanted to stiffen it because you don't want it to make this one warps, and you want it to have a completely dry, and you don't want to have any kind of moisture between. So use what they call medium, like I think that's probably acrylic medium, but it's kind of medium. You cream it back, you just kind of apply all over the place, let it dry, apply it again, let it dry, apply it again. So many times they apply and let it dry to stiffen it. And after that, you put that paper onto the probably metal. You see, you have to have a very, then you can actually print in an open frame, open back frame. And I thought, oh, I can just kind of print in a glass. You know, if I want to print in an open back frame, I will paint oil. Why bother to paint watercolor?
Soon it's I'm just giving you a time count. It's about 11:30. We've got about 25 minutes.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep doing. So if you ever ask, it's going to say this one. Okay. I wanted to dry this one. I'm going to dry this one. So can you see, I am keep going this one. It looks like flower, but I have lots of things to make this one to make more exciting. You have a little bit of a kind of attitude. So I'm going to try this part. So it can show it's kind of, okay. It's going to be a little noise. I'm going to mute it so you're not going to have this all of noise. Okay, it's funny thing, kind of funny because I don't like change. So watercolor stay like watercolor. I don't know. My idea is if I wanna print an open back frame, or paint oil or acrylic or something on the canvas. All right. So if you look at this one, can you see this area? I blend this one very carefully. So I thought I did a great job right here. But can you see this one is kind of this one is kind of moved back. It's made of this one line is being so hard. And lots of the time, kind of watercolor is kind of did this way and it's done. It's not, because I can fix this one anytime I want. So we have what they call scrub brush. This scrubbing brush can be like a oil painting kind of brister, but this one, what they call synthetic brister, and it's actually very good. And usually kind of that they use fabric painting brush. So I have this one being a little bit rough, and I don't like this. I wanted to make this one smooth, and actually I can go this one scrub to just kind of make this one. Oh, I can actually use a softer one to make kind of gently disappear. So I can just kind of remove this excess, the accumulation of the pigment, and I can actually have this one smooth transition. So there's a kind of, some people say watercolor, if you you cannot fix it. It's not true. You can fix anything. Only one thing you have to remember is watercolor. So if you want to have a paper white, kind of white as a paper, if I have this one, this is the paper white. Can you see? I have a paper that I wanted to scrub because if this is the color that I want, I masked it. Can you see? But if I wanted to have this color and kind of here, I just kind of apply something too much. And it's, I wanted to get some kind of a highlight alongside of this area. This one is not paper white. Can you see it? So I can always bring out highlight over there, the darker area. Because the darker area, I just need a little bit darker than what it is. But if I wanted to have this paper white, I would. You don't want to. I don't want to have this paper white too much anywhere because I think its time is kind of almost finished. But there's a. I use yellow a lot. So one of my friends say, because I use Y as my middle name. Actually, my middle name is Young. But middle name, I use the Y. And she said, because I use yellow a lot, she said, oh, it's as soon as the middle name is yellow. And I thought, oh, that's so good because I like yellow. And I love yellow. And I use yellow all the time, all over the place. And I thought that was kind of pretty good. And so I thought I'm going to use that statement anywhere I go. So I come here to Sugar Land. I say, oh, my middle name is Yellow. And somebody, I don't know, somebody thought of that or not. It's one lady was asking me, oh, won't you offend it? I say, why should I offend it? Because my middle name is Yellow. It's kind of, I'm using yellow a lot. Why should I offend it? And it's all of a sudden, it just dawned on me because she thought I'm yellow because I'm an Asian. So I thought, oh my God, it's not true. Because she was asking, she's saying it's like I use yellow a lot. It's not. So after that, that's kind of interesting. So I usually don't like white. If you look at this whole painting, there's almost no white, just maybe a little bit over here. I think this might be a little white here. Can you see? There's no white. I don't like white. So when I say this one, it doesn't mean Caucasian, okay? So, because when there's so much white, it's just disturbing. You gotta get rid of white. So when you're painting, or even oil painting, you get rid of all the white. And when you are painting on pastel, you use colored paper. You don't use white paper because that white is disturbing. Okay, where's my fleck? So when I go to person workshop, lots of people try to save that white, and I say, get rid of that white. I don't like white. Don't get mad at me because it doesn't mean Caucasian. And it's true because there's a little bit of white sparkles and it's very good and pleasant. And there's a lot of white start coming, they take it over. History shows. Okay, so now this one is here a little bit. I'm gonna show. So I am making a Bettenberg design. This is the whole, I have a drawing to it because I made it this one blue because I was going so dark. I'm losing all my pencil lines. So I use blue too. So I was using this one. I'm gonna probably use a little bit more reddish tone for this. Bettenberg is very unruly. They're not straight, kind of crooked and rude, kind of what they call. They are not like ironed. Actually, this is ironed, but they are just kind of a little bit. So one thing I like is, but I don't know if it makes sense. Just make it a little messy. It look like Bettenberg. You see, so I'm making this one right here. And if you look at this one, some of those kind of raised, a little bit raised. I just kind of put this one more time because I was showing a little bit of a demonstration before, and I covered it up because of the color that I have. And I can actually bring out gently with my scrubber the raised fabric. I'm gonna highlight a little bit.
While you're doing that, I'm going to let everybody know that they can still sign up for the afternoon workshop. There's still
You're the
time and
one who's in
space.
charge of it. I'm not.
But yes, there's still availability if anybody wants to sign up for the afternoon workshop.
I think so. What? So you're the one that's kind of online. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So after this one, can you see I made it this one a little bit of kind of highlighted, but now I am going to center. It has a little bit of, this is Battenberg. I should wait until it dries out, but. And this might be a little bit too strong. I can just take this a little bit off. And another thing I have to do is I have to go backside a little darker so I can actually put this one out a little bit further. You see it? And if I have I'm not sure if this is gonna work or not, and so I can always blend this one out like this. You see it? Then I will think about this one later if I wanted to do it more or not. It's kind of watercolor, it's just light-hearted. So when I get older, I cannot walk, and I'm gonna go to my retirement center. This is the painting medium that I will never let it go. Oil painting, yeah, I might have to let it go because it's just too heavy. But watercolor, I can just kind of go without. And you see, I'm just kind of detailing this area out, and it's this one has a little bit of a Battenberg. And between, it has a little bit of a, this one has a little bit. So if you do more detail, there's going to be more detail. If you don't do, it's kind of less, it's going to be a less. It's never, ever, I don't know, it's just kind of, if you like detail, watercolor can do detail like crazy. Because you can make brush as tip, as thin as you can. And your pigment, it flows out because it's just watery. But because I tell you this oil thing because of you guys, some of them is kind of lots of people, you guys paint the oil and it's other doing medium. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of, so if you choose to do that, I think it's watercolor is kind of loose over medium. I think it doesn't matter. So. All right, then after this one dries out, and it's kind of right next right here is going to have see and detail, and this is where the dark goes. So I think I'm gonna finish this painting after this demonstration. I did messy enough. I did kind of messing around enough. And this one has to be a little bit darker. And you see, I'm starting to kind of developing this one this way all the way. So only one thing I have to do is if I want to make the detail, I have to invest my time and patience. And inside is going to be a little bit blending out. And outside, this outside is not that much. Okay. You see, I will do this one as much as I can to kind of all the way around it. And this area, if you look at it, can you see it's kind of flat? And it's that I wanted to make this one a little bit of more, I wanted to bring out a little bit of a highlight. Then I don't want to make all the way, but if I want to make this area highlight, I can scrub this one to give this a highlight, because I'm not looking for white, paper white. I'm looking for lighter than surrounding, because if I make too much white, it's wrong anyway, too light.
We have about 10 minutes soon.
All right. I hope that I gave you as much information I can, so you guys can enjoy some watercolor. So it's so nice to meet you, Sugar Land people, because maybe I'm gonna visit Sugar Land one time. So somebody said, if one place they wanted to retire to is a Sugar Land, I said, Sugar Land, what is a Sugar Land? And see, somebody contact me from Sugar Land. And I'm like, whoa.
It's meant to be.
Meant to be.
We will, just for everybody's, the recording of this demo will be available online to watch again.
Okay, good. All right, so I would think I said, if you see, it's I'm not painting like a 1 hour, 2 hour, and I can actually show you 1 hour, 2 hour painting, what it look like. Okay. So this is like, I think it's an idea demonstration because I wanted to learn how to do Zoom demo. So I just kind of invite my friends and I was doing, can you see this one is like 1.5 hours. We just kind of talk and we did this one. So this one, I didn't layer. I just kind of put whatever that is, kind of paint flat way. And this one is the same way. I think this one is in the website. I think maybe takes a little more than 1 hour, 2 hours. So I go this loose. But if I want to go this detail like this, can you see? You see the difference between this one and this one. This is much tighter and this is looser. Can you see? A looser, I'm not looking for detail. I'm just going light and dark and just kind of color differences and I just kind of go for it. And this one, I'm going for the little detail. So this one was kind of workshop piece and this one was kind of workshop piece too. So this is much controlled painting, kind of layers of a little bit layer. But and this one is controlled painting too. So I think this one, I did a demonstration. Oh, I did demonstrate other places. I have to send it to them. So this is how it goes. It's kind of watercolor. You can choose any way you want it to paint. And this piece of paper, you brush and wet and water, and that's it. You don't have to have a whole bunch of other stuff. So I am so glad to meet you guys and hope to see you another time.
Well, thank you so much.
I know Mary. Mary, I know you. I cannot hear you, Mary.
Yeah, yes, you do. We first started painting together in Charlotte. And I painted
Oh my
with
God,
you.
I saw you in Charlotte at the.
And I painted with you a couple months ago at Villages.
Oh, you did?
In fact, I painted this painting with you.
So you live in Sugar Land?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, and I was supposed to paint with you in Manatee, but that didn't get on.
Oh,
So I watch wherever I
they
can. I
don't
sign
want to
up
go
and paint with you.
online. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't want to go online. So I say, okay, that's fine. So,
I was your driver, remember?
huh?
I drove you all over the Villages while you looked for your blue
Oh,
heron.
you're the one who. I wonder why I remember you. Oh my God! I didn't know you live in Sugar Land.
I'm in Sun City, Florida.
Oh, you're in Sun City, Florida. You're in Florida. Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
Good to see you.
You too, honey.
Didn't you see this painting? I've been running around with this painting all over the place. I don't know you saw or not. What?
Yes, we've got people here from Australia, Sweden, Florida,
Oh.
California,
Okay.
all across. So it's really been an international class. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
So
good to
thank
see you. It's a
Thank you so
fantastic.
much,
Let
Sue.
me see.